Hey everyone, my name's Andrew Bryanton, and I'm from Prince Edward Island, Canada, off the east coast of Canada, home of Anna Green Gables, of course. And I'm starting up this video blog to talk about training for marathons, half marathons, 10K, 5K, whatever the distance, it doesn't matter. All the different things that I've come across hopefully will apply to each of the different distances that you may be training for. And over the next little bit, I'm going to release blogs just on an endless amount of topics that will help you get ready for whatever race that you may be getting ready for. I'll first address the background and behind me. I am a teacher from home, so I'm not changing my background. We're on a sort of a shoestring budget around here. So anyways, that's we'll probably change that over the course of the time. So first thing I want to talk about is just about myself. I'm 35 years old, hence the receding hairline here, and I've run 17 marathons, and not to brag or anything like that, and actually 2 of them I didn't even finish, so you learn a lot even from the ones that you don't finish as well as the ones that you do. And I just had my personal best back a couple weeks ago, and probably was the reason why I wanted to start this video blog was just because I seem to be learning even more and more now, this far into running, that maybe I can help people early on and not have to take 17 marathons to figure that out for themselves. And probably case in point of that is I just ran the Prince Edward Island Marathon 2 weeks ago, and out of the top 50 runners that finished that race, only one was under the age of 30. And you look at other sports like football and baseball and hockey and all the major sports, and for most of them it's pretty much once you get into your 30s, upper 30s, I mean, you're going downhill. Probably, I would argue, late 20s, you're starting to go downhill a little bit. Whereas running, it seems like you don't really hit your peak necessarily until maybe into your 30s. I was watching the New York Marathon there a couple days ago, and the lady that came second, I forget her name, but she's won lots of different marathons, and I believe she was 37, and she came second, and she just barely missed coming first. And the conclusion that the broadcasters came to, and I agree, is that with running, and especially long distances, there's so much to learn. There's so much to grasp. There's so much to take in, and it's one where maybe our bodies start going downhill a little bit, into our 30s. And that doesn't matter what gender you are or anything, or race, or that tends to be your body is declining slightly. We don't notice it a whole lot, but we're declining slightly, maybe into our 30s, into our 40s, and that's where intelligence and just running a smart race, preparing for a smart race, can make up for maybe our ability coming down slightly. So over the next little bit, I'm just going to be sharing a tip each video blog, and I just started trying to list them today, and I've come up with tens of different ideas where I can easily speak 5 to 10 minutes about, and hopefully help someone out along the way. Alright, so let's get into my first tip, and what I'll label this one is in between runs. So what do you do in between runs when you're not working out? And this is what I'll attribute the most success that I've had in losing weight. And everyone knows that if you're a little bit less of weight, losing a pound or two definitely does not hurt you out while you're running your race, whether that be 5K, a marathon, whatever. If you're lighter, it's a lot easier to carry that around and slog along the pavements than if you're heavier. So for me, for example, last year, the marathon, at the exact same time of the year, I went into it 195 pounds. This year, I went into it at just under 180. So how did I lose those 15 pounds? And I'll tell you one thing, it wasn't from eating any less, it wasn't from eating any better. My diet pretty much stayed the same from year over year. So not diet. Was my training any better? Maybe a little bit, but to lose 15, 17 pounds with my training, definitely not. What was the key then to my success? And that's where in between runs comes into play. And what I mean by that is, what are you doing after your lunch? What are you doing after supper? What are you doing after breakfast? Um, you know, is there a different way to get to work besides taking your car or taking the bus? Um, Looking at creative ways for you to get non-impact exercise. And what I mean by that is, I don't want you running necessarily any more than you're already running. Is there ways that you can stay active when you're not when you're not doing your usual routine with your runs and everything like that? And of course, we have commitments, we have to go to work, we have all that. But is there ways to fit in non-impact exercise in between your runs? So for me, for example, I tried to bike to work a couple of times a week, and for me it takes about 10-minute bike ride each way, so it's not that far, and not everyone can do that, I understand. But is there, maybe you can bike to your bus stop or whatever. Is there ways that you can do that in a way that can get you to work without taking the car? So that's one creative way to do a little bit more during the week. As well as, for me, I go and I have my lunch. It takes me maybe 10 minutes to eat. That leaves me 40 minutes to do something else. I get out and I walk as much as I can at lunch. I try, and if I'm even taking my car to work, I purposely park farther away. And not only that, but it's free because I'm so far out that it's no one wants that parking spot anyway. So it takes me 5 to 10 minutes to walk to work in the morning too, because I park far away. So that's just another way that maybe you can get some exercise as well, by parking farther away if you do take your car, or lunchtime, or after supper. I just try and get out and I try and walk for a little bit. And I'm not talking about, it doesn't have to be long. It can be 15 minutes, it can be half an hour, whatever, as long as you're getting out. And that helps to digest your meal. And I always looked at like outside, and there'd be lots of seniors out walking and after and before meals, and they are onto something for sure, because it definitely helps you digest. You can feel it when you're out walking, out biking. Afterwards, your meal is not sitting there, it's moving, it's being used. So that might not seem like a lot, but when you're doing a little bit, each meal, and I don't mean it has to be each meal, but maybe once a day during a meal that you're able to do that, then great. You're losing some calories by doing that. And not only that, but what I always say is, when you're exercising, what are you not doing? You're not eating. And that time, there's nothing worse than those times late at night where you're bored and you're watching TV and you're just, you want to eat basically. Well, get up and go for a walk or do something, and sometimes that'll be enough to crave it. If not, I'll get into a topic about what do you do about that snacking later on. But that's one of the key things. If you can find a way to be creative and get some non-impactful workouts, and like I said, that could be swimming, could be biking. I really do like biking because it helps your quads, especially for those longer distances. If you can get some biking in a few times a week, and like I said, it doesn't have to be super long, but if you can get that in outside of your runs. And for me, like, I do that stuff and I feel stronger the next day. I don't feel tired. I feel stronger, and I think that's because you're using different muscles when you're walking or swimming or biking. So it doesn't impact your performance. If anything, it helps, and that will help you get stronger and lose some weight and help you to run faster. And there's a study out, for example, I remember reading that said for each pound of weight loss that you have, there's a 4-pound reduction in knee joint stress. And when you're talking about, a 26-mile run or 42-mile marathon or half marathon, whatever, that's a huge benefit to have a couple of pounds off, whether it be 1 pound, 10 pounds, whatever. Any little bit helps. And I'm not saying to try and starve yourself or do anything or get throw up after a meal. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is there are ways that you can do it in a healthy way that you don't really notice. And simply, if you can do a little bit each day, that is huge for your overall fitness over a long period of time. So that's my first tip that I'll give. And like I said, I'll get into other tips as we go along, but that's one that is super easy to implement. And like I said, it doesn't have to start off big. It can start off small and just go from there. So that's my first tip. Come back the next day and we'll get into more as we go along. So thanks for watching.